All right, welcome to the Gym Owners Podcast. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Tracy.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Yeah, it's. I looked up. You've been with us almost what seven years now with us.
That sounds right. I had did it all just by hand, by paperwork for the first. I've been in business 19 years, so that was a nightmare.
What made you when you first started? Did you were you 24/7? At first, everybody. This is Tracy with Go Figure Fitness, multiple club owner. When you first started, were you 24/7 off the bat, or did you grow to 24/7?
I grew to 24/7. My first gym was in our small hometown, a population of 1,600 people. And so it's a women's only gym. So no, I actually would open in the morning after taking the kids to school. And then I had somebody do the night shift. So I stayed with the kids. I was only at work when the kids were at school, kind of thing. They walked to the gym, we went home. So I did not become 24/7 for actually quite some time. Our staffed hours were pretty intense for a while.
Wow. What made you start your own gym? Just curious.
The reason I was a stay-at-home mom. We married my high school sweetheart. We farm. Farming community. I was a stay-at-home mom, and there was a need for the closest gym was about 20 miles away. And I overheard some ladies complaining about the drive going to the local women's only facility 20 miles away. And so I looked across the street, there was an empty building. And so I just took a chance and opened up mine is a women's only. And I just bought a few pieces of equipment and ran an ad in the local newspaper, if that ages me a little bit, and saw if there was any need for it. And the response was overwhelming. So I did. I just opened it and rolled the dice, and it turned out okay. And then I actually only owned that gym for about a year. I guess I wasn't busy enough, and then I expanded to my second location, and I sold that one to a gal that hated her job, wanted to get into the gym industry, and so I actually sold that one and went on to actually a bigger town.
Awesome. I'm glad I was able to get you on, because I was like, we need some girls on here. And so a couple of people at the Janet at the office were like, we need girl power episodes. So I'm glad we got you on. She actually gave me a couple of questions she wanted to ask. So one of them was, did you have any doubts when you were first thinking about starting the business, and how did you overcome them?
I am a risk taker, and so I don't know if I had any doubts after the response from the newspaper. You know, I had already decided I was going to open that gym. And if it didn't work out, with a small town like this, it's not like I was in a 5-year lease kind of thing. My landlord was absolutely wonderful. I believe I only signed a 1-year lease on it. The lease was very inexpensive. I just bought some, you know, when I look back at my equipment 19 years ago, I think, holy cow. But as far as the doubts, I'm a risk taker. And so I didn't have very many doubts after the response from the newspaper. But otherwise, yeah, the other locations that I opened, absolutely nerve-wracking. With me not doing any gym software, I had no pre-sales, I had, you know, pre-joining, I had nothing like that. And so I was just going off of, do we need another women's only gym in this city? And the answer was yes, there was only one at the time. And so that's the only thing that I was going off of is there a need for it? And there most definitely was. So roll the dice.
That's actually harder, because today you could probably, instead of a newspaper, now you could just start up a Facebook account and get as many likes, and then you know that gym is. So now it's probably even easier to do that. So you really struggled to. I mean, you really did the hard work to get that gym open. This next question is pretty interesting. Do you think it's harder to advertise to women only to get them? And if it is, what do you do differently to get them in your door?
To advertise for women only, no. Like now it's a Facebook thing. To get them in the door, I guess, is the biggest struggle. I've always said once I get them in the door, they're sold. And as far as me getting them in the door, my main focus is word of mouth. I knew within the first couple months that was either gonna make me or break me kind of thing. As far as I was so committed to those gyms, the gym that I opened after my hometown one was an hour away from me. But I practically lived in that town because I wanted to be the one to welcome new people. I mean, I honestly think that's a huge, huge thing because that's my bread and butter. I wanted to make sure that it was successful. And so I was the one meeting and greeting these people. And it does make a difference as far as them meeting the owner versus, if you have a great manager, which I do now, but if back then it was just like, no, I need to be the person to welcome them. They need to hear my story kind of thing. But as far as getting them in the door, the hardest struggle is actually getting them in the door. Once they're in the door, I'm very focused on personality, cleanliness kind of thing, especially that's a huge thing for women only, the cleanliness. But otherwise, getting them in the door, Anthony, is the biggest struggle. I guess that's the only thing. Once they come in, especially my two gyms, the one gym looks so small from the outside. And so, but it just continues to go and go and go. It's very long. And so when people drive by, like, oh, that looks tiny. So once I get them in the door, they're like, wow, this is huge in here. So that's my biggest struggle, is just getting them in the door. So.
Gotcha. And I would say for the owners that can't be at the gym, there probably is to have a story. So this way you could tell your employees. So this way it's much more than just a business that opened up. Like, no, this is what we're about. This is why we opened up. And this way, I guess it could invite to be a part of the family more or less. Probably. Cause I mean, this goes into my next thing. Cause when I first met you, you were super, super, super hands-on, always active. And it was, you surprised me when I was on the phone because you said you kind of more of running it from the house. So explain to me how that's different. Because when I first met you, you were there like every single day, knowing what's going on. Like, I guess the software probably played a role in that a little bit. Explain what you used to be and how you are now.
Oh gosh. When I look back, I don't know how I ran the gym without the software. I don't know how I did it, but I did. It was all paper. I mean, I still have paper files, and I know that's probably old school, but I still have paper files kind of thing. But it was an absolute nightmare as far as payments. With me, I would have to write down, I would have a stack of papers that I'd have to run the payments through every month. It was a nightmare, Anthony. But otherwise, as far as being hands-on at first, things just have been a little bit different, I would say, over the last 5 years, especially just because I haven't been as much hands-on because I have a wonderful manager in the gym an hour away from me. We need to clone her, but I have a wonderful manager there. And then I am very close to my other gym. I'm only 20 miles away from my other gym. So I am very active there yet. My kids tease me that I don't work, but there is so much stuff that I can do from home with the gym software. So it's not, they don't understand that, no, I'm still doing the task lists at home, and I'm still, running some payments from home. I'm still doing those things from home. It's just, I don't have to be physically at the gym. And so, yeah, I was totally, at the gym. I had to be before the gym software. I really did, because I had to be there to run the payments manually, like type in, and it was, yeah. But yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you ran every single payment by hand first.
Yes. And every month I would have to hand over a stack to the bank to have them run the memberships. It was an app. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that brings me to another good question, because I'm hearing from gym owners right now how it's so hard to find employees. And you said you got a really good manager, so that's awesome. What do you attribute to finding a good employee? And the question after that would be, how do you make your employees so effective, especially with you working from home? And I think, is there anything to up your mic was a little low last time you talked?
Oh,
I can hear you now. You're good now.
oh, sorry. I'm very particular when I do hire new gals. And so I am the one training them. I refuse to not be the one that trains them because I'm very, very particular on how they give the tours and how they introduce themselves and how they greet people. So I am very, very picky on that part of it. It is hard to find good help. I hope my employees don't hear this, but it is very hard. I have some great ladies working for me, but it is very hard to find good help that take this job seriously and just don't show up for their job, that they really are in it wholeheartedly. But I guess to find good employees is I have to be the one to pick them. And I have to be the one to train them. I have done it before where I have had another employee train them. And although I was the one that trained them, they seem to forget a lot of the things that I was so specific on. And I am very picky about certain things. And so I've done that before. It hasn't worked out so well. So I insist on being the one to train the new employees on how to do everything. Because I think bad word of mouth travels so much faster than good. And so I can't risk that if I'm not going to be the one working. And I'm going to back up a little bit here, Anthony. I am hands-on, but
Okay.
my personal trainer actually tore her ACL, and so she wanted my hours, and so I'm like, you can have them. This worked out great. You know, I had to take some time off in the last couple months anyway, and then we had a family vacation, and so it worked out really well. But Megan, our personal trainer, is actually taking my hours to recuperate, and then I'm back full time at the gym. But when you called, still in my pajamas, but I was working. And
Gotcha.
but yeah, it's so convenient to work from home with the software.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's really coming when you first started, so it was like pretty much text-based software to it looks nothing like what it did when it first started. So you really liked us because you really must have been doing everything by hand, because when we first started, man, it looks nothing like what it does when it first gets there. For what we look like, what we are now. The thing about employees that I've always noticed was anytime I tried to clone somebody to be a version of me, I've always ended up hitting a breaking point where it never ended well. I found, this is for me anyway, I'm just curious of what you think. I always found that you can only make that person be the best of their own ability, but you run into problems when you try to expect them to be another version of you. It just never ended well because you're just never happy. They end up being frustrated. You end up being frustrated. It's only to where I only was able to train people to the best of what their strengths were. Ted, did you ever find anything like that? How do you, when you train your people, do you try to be the mini clones of you, or how do you train your employees?
No, I've always said when people apply at my gym, I've always said, if you know how to clean and if you are friendly, you have a job here. It's not,
Awesome.
It's not rocket science here. But those are the two major things as far as just your personality and stuff like that. So as far as me cloning them, I don't think I expect them to do everything like I do. When I was there yesterday, actually, I noticed that how I taught a gal to do a tour, she started backwards. And so, I sat back and not so much backwards, but I start my tours a certain way. And she started it a totally separate way. But that's fine. As long as everything gets covered, I'm okay with that. So I don't necessarily need them to be a clone of me, but I do think that if you aren't at your gym as much as you should be as involved, because that gym needs to run the way you want it to run, because you're the one making the utility payments. You're the one making the lease payments or mortgage payments or whatever. You need to run it the way you want it ran. So employees, are a struggle. I've had to let some go because they just refuse to do things the way I want things done. And I'm not a control freak by any means, but this is my business that I worked hard for. So I want it ran the way I want it ran. And I'm not, I would think that if you talk to my employees, they would think I'm not a hard person to work for. I just expect them to do the things that I ask them to do, which is not much, put a smile on your face, meet and greet people kind of thing. So,
treat people like family. And some people don't like it. That's important to train them to do tours, because that's missing on today's business. Like you can't just expect people to walk in, tell them a price, they're going to flip down a card. Like you have to give a tour. You have to let them know that you're going to be there, that you want to help them get to their goals of whatever reason why they walked into that business. So how do you do your tours at your facility, or train your employees to do your tours as soon as somebody walks in?
Well, at first I have told the girls, never, ever discuss the price before you actually give them a tour, because once they've toured the place, that's going to sell them regardless, in my opinion. We by far are very, very competitive with our pricing, but
sure.
But the girls know not to even discuss memberships or pricing until you have introduced yourself. You have asked them if they had time, to kindly give a tour to them, introduce themselves, shake their hand kind of thing, give them a tour kind of thing. I get very irritable when I see someone come in and they just flip the price sheet around and go, we have a 1, 6, or 3 month membership. Like, no, have you ever been in here? And so that's the first question you should ask. Do you have time for a quick tour? See what you're getting into kind of thing, but that's my main thing, is the tours. I need to make it as relatable to them. And I guess the best example I can make is when I first opened my gym in the Hour Away gym, there was a lady that came in that was just excessively overweight. And she was so thankful that a women's only gym came to town, that she was able to come to a gym and walk on a treadmill for 5 minutes. She has been a member of my gym for 19 years now. And the transformation she had was amazing, but she had to start somewhere, and she wasn't comfortable in an open setting, because in my gyms I have it very cut off. I have just separate rooms where they can shut the door. And so with women, that's huge, especially that particular woman. And so for 19 years, she's been a member of my gym, and she thanks me every time she sees me, just because she had to start somewhere. And my gym, luckily, was the place she got to start.
Sure.
But to go back to the tour things, I'm just very picky as far as, we don't need to discuss price. We don't discuss anything until you ask them their name, you introduce yourself, you ask them if they have a time to do a quick tour kind of thing. And I honestly just talk to them like, you're your next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to sell you anything. You have to be sold yourself, because if you aren't happy with this gym, you're not going to come. And so I'm trying not to, I don't want to sell you the gym per se. I want you to like the gym so you keep coming, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, I think they don't understand also, like in any business, no car dealership. I'm not trying to say cars and gyms the same thing, but you're not going to go to a car dealership. They're not going to give you a price until you test drive first, right? I don't care what dealership you go to. Anyone you walk into, they're never going to do that. And it's not like gyms and cars are the same thing, but it's the same. Sales is still the same thing, where from a tour, from the handshake, find out what they're interested in, because maybe they're interested in just cardio. Well, if you just spent half your tour on free weights, they're tuning you out for half that tour, right? So that's so important. And also, they're telling you things that are going to help you overcome the objections if they tell you they want to think about it at the end. Because when you do get to price at the end and they say, I have to think about it, I could say, Tracy, you've been telling me you've been thinking about it for the last 2 years. We're right down the road from you. You could said you see yourself. What more is it you have to think about? Is it the upfront investment or the monthly investment? And you could actually close on the sale rather than just say, okay, well, maybe you'll come back, So I think that's awesome that you train to give everybody a tour and not just show price, because you're at 50% closing if you just show price. What you're doing is value selling,
Well, they have to like it, going back to the car. If I went to go buy a van and they're trying to sell me a sports car, like, I don't want that sports car. I want the van kind of thing. So if I don't have everything that they want or need, I'm not going to act like I do. I've always said, I am my own little gym. I'm not competing against the bigger chains. I'm not. And so if you came to me for a reason. You're comfortable around just women. We have the free weights. We have this, that, this. So I ask, what are you looking for? Is there any specific machine or that you're looking for? If I don't have it, then I'm sorry, but it has to be the right fit kind of thing. I'm not going to try to sell you my gym. I'm not going to talk you into my gym. You're not going to come and you're not going to be happy. And then the bad word of mouth starts. So it's just like, no, I want people there that want to be there, that like it there, that just aren't coming because they paid for a year membership and they don't have they don't like what I have kind of thing. So I give them a complete tour. If there's anything that I don't have, I'm not going to pretend like I do. It's just,
Gotcha.
this is what I have kind of thing. So.
Gotcha. What do you think? So you've been in business for such a long time. What have you noticed that's changed as far as competition? And if so, how do you deal with that? Like, have you noticed the small dollar amount gyms, or what have you noticed that has changed for competition for you?
I don't have a lot of competition in my area because in both the towns that I am in, I am the only women's only gym. And so that helps a lot. That being said, I did have a gym that I had to close, and I never should open this gym anyway. It was 3 hours away from me. So that was too far away. I didn't have the good employees that I needed there kind of thing. But otherwise I did have to close that gym because a huge chain did come in and undercut me. And so that did hurt big time. And I couldn't compete with that. And I've never claimed to compete with that. And so that's the competition there as far as that goes. But as far as the other competition, I don't really have any other women's only gyms in my area. And so that helps me tremendously as far as the competition goes. I do have the equipment. I mean, yeah, I'm very, I am very alert on what equipment the other gyms have to make sure that I have, those pieces as well. But women are different too. Women don't need certain things that the big chains have either. And so I'm just really in tune, I guess, with what, after 19 years of what women like, what equipment they like, how they, as far as the separation of the rooms, they love that. That's very odd for a gym. But they do like that separation of the rooms because they don't like to be on display a lot. But as far as the competition goes, I don't have that much competition as a women's only gym. Price wise, definitely you got to be very conscientious on what your prices are, competitive prices. But again, my prices are very, very reasonable. So competition wise, I'm right in the mix there.
Gotcha. So that gym that you had to have closed, you were 3 hours away, you said, from that location? Yeah, there's nothing, because as soon as you have such competition like that, the first thing that I've always told anyone is like, you have to dig in your heels for 6 months to try to overcome that. And if 3 hours away, there's nothing, which brings me to my next question, which is actually good. How did you know, how long did it take you to realize, okay, we got to shut this location down? Because I've seen so many other owners out there just bleed out, just keep going, in the hopes of things turn around. You had everything stacked against you. 3 hours away. It was, what point when you finally threw in the towel where you're like, okay, it doesn't make much sense for me to keep going with this location? How long did that take you to come to that conclusion?
I was in business there for actually 4 years. And I wasn't always robbing Paul to pay Peter kind of thing there. If that would have been my one and only gym, it wouldn't have been 4 years. It wouldn't have. I would have had to shut that down immediately. But I had invested in buying the building there. So I had bought the building. And it wasn't always a negative thing. That big chain didn't come in for probably 2 years after I was there. So I was doing fairly well until that happened. But it got to the point where I made a bad decision move. I thought we were moving into a better location. And I went from owning a building to leasing a building, but on what I thought was a better side of town. I'm learning from my mistakes, but so I leased a building, and that turned out to be a nightmare. And so that lease was very expensive. And then on top of it, the chain came in, and it was time to close. That was very difficult for me because I feel like that was a failure, and I don't deal with that very well. So I still struggle with that because I feel like I failed at that gym, but there honestly was nothing else. I had used every resource I knew to keep that gym going, and I couldn't do it anymore.
So what was the mistake, like the advice? Because usually sometimes new gym owners watch this, and this is why I put this out there for you to give the advice to everyone. What was the mistake that you learned from that you wouldn't do if you could have done it all over again? What would you have done different?
Oh, it really was nothing on my part, as the chain hurt me. The chain hurt me big time. And so that, just do your research, as far as if there is a chain there that's going to undercut, your prices, and I know they can rob Paul to pay Peter all day. I can't, I just couldn't do that. But otherwise, the regret I had was probably selling my building and moving to a leased building, because I didn't, it really was a utility thing, not so much a payment thing. It was a utility thing, and I didn't know that ahead of time. And so it was a nightmare as far as that goes. But I don't know, Anthony, if there's anything I really could have done, although I beat my head against the wall every day about this, because it's like, oh my gosh, I failed at that location, but I don't know what else I could have done. So
I don't think you could have did anything different. The only thing I saw major is that you're such a hands-on owner that prevented you from being there all the time. That's the only thing that I could see, because I would have no doubts in my mind that if you were there to be there, that would have been a huge difference with you not being there.
Right. I would agree. I would agree. It was too far away. I didn't have, the manager like I have in the other town kind of thing. But I agree with that. It was a job for them. It wasn't their bread and butter, so they could care less if somebody came in and joined.
Right.
I'm off at 5. So, kind of thing. I'm off at 5. I could care less if you join, where I'm like, no, but that
it's not their gym. Like, they don't have a vested interest as like you do, where they actually, that's hard to find, somebody that's going to treat their club like if it was their own. Because I've always, and maybe you have different, it sounds like you have a really awesome manager, but new owners, I always tell them the only thing you could really count on that's being done when you're not there is that nothing is being done when you're not there, and that's why I usually had people call up with the 12 o'clock numbers, 3 o'clock numbers, 6 o'clock numbers, just because if and any owner that's watching this, I urge you to try this. Park your car around the block and sneak into your club. If you happen to walk in and all of a sudden it starts to look like they're busy, it tells you what's being done when you're not there. and it's really hard to find a manager like you have, where it's your right hand girl, where she's you when you're not there. How do you do anything to incentivize her to care as much? Like, do you give them bonuses? Do you give her a bonus? Like, what do you do to make? Did you just happen to find her, or did you do anything to like train her to be like that?
I can't take any credit for the way she is. No, I just think she's my age. That this isn't going to come across very good, but the work ethic is there. She's my age. She's had previous jobs. She knows this isn't a difficult job. She knows I treat her well. I'm very involved with her grandbabies, and she's not. And this can bite you too, but I guess I will put my neck out there every time. But my employees, I don't feel like are my employees. I know there's a fine line between employees and friendships, and I've crossed that line before. But she is one that respects me tremendously, but yet I treat her very well as well. It's not like I don't know what's going on in her personal life. She doesn't know what's going on in my personal life. And I know there's a fine line there as far as that goes. And women may be a little bit different, but I've had it where I've learned my lesson on that as well. She has been with me a very, very long time. I can't take any credit for how she is. She's managed places before, but she likes working there. And that's why she is the way she is. It's not like she dreads. She tells me at least once every couple of weeks, I love working here. That's huge. If you have the Sunday night blues where you're like, oh God, I gotta go to work tomorrow, then I know my gym is not going to be ran the way I want it to run. But she likes working there. She really does. So that's the main thing.
That's awesome. That's how I always have gone back to it. You got to love what you do.
Yes.
You got to love what you do, because we definitely encounter some crazy stories that I always say we could probably make a coffee table book with all the stories that we've experienced while running gyms or owning gyms. You gotta love what you do. That's for sure. At what point did you know that you had to grow to another location? Were you just like, okay, this is too good to be true, I have to get another location? Like, how long did that take for you to do?
I didn't have to do it. I just had to stay busy. And so, the one location I'm at, if you can picture, is an hour away from me. And I actually jumped over the town that's closer to me. And so I started that one first. And I had both of my hometown one and that one going at the same time. And so evidently I wasn't busy enough at my hometown one, because I do have to stay very busy. So I knew I was not going to be the stay-at-home farm wife. I do that job very well. My mother-in-law does it very well. I could not do that. And so I just have to stay very busy. And so it's not like I had to do it. It was actually a risk every time I did it. But otherwise, Columbus is the one that I jumped over, is the one that's an hour away from me. That was doing very well. And so I thought, well, why not try the town that's 20 miles away from me? They had the same gyms in Columbus as what they do here. Why don't I just try it here? And so I did. I rolled the dice and did those two as well. And it is a competition of which one's doing better a lot of times. The one closest to me, was always doing better. And now the one furthest away from me is doing better. And I let the girls know that. I let them know that there is a little bit of a competition here, ladies. But no, I never really thought, oh gosh, I got to open another one. I'm just rolling in the dough. I never, ever thought that. I just thought, wow, I need to stay busier, because that one was an hour away and it's not like I was there every day. And so my kids were active in things. And so it's not like I wasn't busy, but I need to stay extremely busy before I go insane. And so that's just my personality. So I that's exactly why I started the third location that I had to close down. And my husband will roll his eyes and say, "You're nuts. Why are you starting another one?" I'll be like, "I don't know. I guess I know. I don't think it's difficult maybe to open a gym. I've always said, if I could do it, anybody could do it."
Sure.
And so I just always thought, and my husband says, "You're not giving yourself enough credit," but that I don't think it's that difficult to open a gym and continue on with it. Yeah, there's hoops and stuff to jump through. I get that, but it's not that difficult to do it. And so anybody that's on the fence to do it, I would definitely do it, because like I said, if this stay-at-home mom could do it, anybody could do it. So
That's awesome. And before I go, I know you're busy. You said you were running the 24/7 system yourselves, like with employees. What did you notice when you went with our 24/7 access system? What changed for you, and how much did it make your life a lot easier? Did it make it like, what changed, Berlin, when you went from employees to an actual access system?
well, first off, it cut my payroll in half. You know, I mean, with us, we were staffed from 6 a.m. until 9 o'clock at night. And so my payroll was tremendous. And so when I did go to the 24-hour, cut my payroll in half,
Wow.
and then I actually have decreased hours even from when I went to the 24-hour. We were still staffed from 6 a.m, until 6 at night. And now we're actually staffed from 10 to 6. And so I've cut my payroll completely in half, as far as that was huge. And it's such a pull for people to be able to get into a gym 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't imagine running a gym that wasn't 24/7. I guess, in my own personal opinion, everybody's schedules are so hectic. And so I love the 24/7. Definitely have cameras everywhere, obviously can open the door from home, if there's a problem, kind of thing. But so yeah, you do have to be very available with the 24/7 access, but there are so many pros versus cons with the 24/7. I think it'd be very difficult to own a gym that wasn't 24/7 unless you slept there and had a bedroom in the gym as well. So that was a blessing for me to be 24/7.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's great. So it cut your payroll literally in half. That is,
Yes.
I can't imagine anything else or give any advice that could do anything that great. That's awesome. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for doing this with me. It's been almost 7 years now, so it was awesome to finally meet. And we'll have to get you back on another podcast.
Yeah, I did not realize it had been 7 years. I was wondering how long I did it myself. Thinking, holy cow. But no, the software has been absolutely amazing for me. Totally a lifesaver for me. And my old manager is the one that said, "There's got to be a software out there to do this." And I'm like, I can do it. It's not that big of a deal. Well, then I got to researching software, and I'm like, this would make my life so much easier. And it has. It has.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine doing it all manually and paper anymore. It would be an absolute nightmare. But yeah, I'm very thankful that I found the software. Or you found
We're
me.
thankful that you found us.
I don't know which was which, if you found me or I found you, but I think I found you. But yeah, I researched some other softwares, and you guys have been absolutely amazing as far as I know you didn't pay me to say this, but you have been absolutely amazing at your customer service. And so always answer the phone with a nice greeting kind of thing. It's not like, oh gosh, she's calling again, what's her problem? But no, it has absolutely been an absolute blessing for me to have found Gym Insight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Well, thank you again. And see, this wasn't so bad. It's easy. Went by fast.
No, it wasn't.
All right, Tracy, I will talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Okay.
And we'll talk in just a little bit. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Anthony.
Bye, Trace. Bye.
Bye.